Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Late Night Show with Dr. Kojo. I am your host, Kojo Sarfo, checking in from what was a very sunny day here in Los Angeles, California. It was a cold day, a little bit towards the end, but we've had a great day, and I'm excited to have this show. And it's the last show of the week. It's going to be a good one. We're going to talk a little bit about what fame, attention, and clout, because that's what the kids call it nowadays, do to your mental health. And of course, in the title, I have rest in peace, Aaron Carter. And we'll talk a little bit about how things can be difficult for child stars, and just we'll figure out ways to make it relatable. But before we start, as we always do, use the comment section to let me know who you are and where you're checking in from. So let's get it. All right, we got Kendra from Pennsylvania. Kendra's one of the moderators, by the way. Kendra, I'm happy to have you on here. We got Lauren from Northeast Tennessee. What's up, Lauren? Tighten up. Got Mary Collins. Mary, how you doing? How you doing? We got Emma in the building. We got Kelly from NC. I'm assuming that's North Carolina. We got Maria from New York City. We got Leah from Huntsville, Texas. Victoria from Indiana. Dion from Yonkers. Okay, Brett. Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you. ZT from Louisiana, Hannah, Tennessee, Lay from Australia, Brittany, New Jersey. We got more Australia in the house. Canada, New Jersey. Okay. Wow. And Atlas. It's Atlas's first time on the live. Atlas, welcome to this live stream. I'm happy to have you on here. And welcome to the community. We got Love from Augusta. Miss Lindsay, how are you doing? Love from Philippines, Alabama, New York, Cincinnati. I'm jump for sure. No worries. All right, okay, guys. So let's talk about what fame, attention, and clout can do to your mental health, right? So first of all, I want to say rest in peace to Aaron Carter, the child star who passed away. I'm not sure how old you all are, but I'm 29. I'll be 30 in 2 weeks. And I remember when Aaron Carter was big, right? He was making music. I think he went quadruple platinum at 10 years old. And when that happens, you think about how things, like how does somebody process all that attention, right? Like what's normal for our mental health and what's abnormal, right? And I think when somebody has that type of attention at a young age, you worry about a lot of things. And we're going to talk about that in today's stream, and I have a couple of thoughts and concerns, and we will get into that. Somebody said, I loved him when I was a kid. I'm 32. Right. So Facebook user, you're about the age you're 3 years older than me, 2.5 years older than me. So we came up in the same era, right? And Atlas says, appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And yeah, Lauren, gotcha. Lauren. So when you grow up, with a lot of eyes on you, right? It's easy to see how somebody can be anxious. And, in addition to people like Aaron Carter, I think of people like Justin Bieber. I think of, Bieber comes to mind first, right? But anybody who's been in the spotlight from a very, very young age, Michael Jackson, the same way, Usher, these guys and girls who have been famous from a very, very, very young age, right? What does that do to your brain, right? What does it do to your brain when you have so many people looking at you, right? Let's think about some of the mental health issues that you could have, right? First of all, one thing I can think about, yeah, Lauren, yes, rest in peace to Aaron. He had I Want Candy. Yeah, that was his song. And he had a song with Shaq. Britney Spears is another example. And Carly, Britney is a great example. Britney Spears, along with Aaron Carter, Britney Spears might be the next best example, right? She went, there was no TikTok back in the day, right? No TikTok or Facebook Reels or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts. So Britney Spears was, just famous, right? And from, 15 or 16, and I know she's from Louisiana, but from the time that she was a teenage girl, right? You have all these women who are looking up to you, and then you have all these teenage guys who want to be with you, and then as you get older, you have all that attention, and it's very difficult. And we've even seen it with Britney as of late. Remember the year that I think she cut off her hair, and people said she was having a mental breakdown, and then in the news you look at it, she's trying to get her life back, and then the conservatorship, and I think she's trying to have a kid, and I heard somewhere that she was taking lithium, and I don't know Britney Spears, right? I don't know if she has bipolar disorder. I'm not sure what is going on there, but it's very difficult when you've been in the spotlight since you're a kid, and you have to deal with all the pressure, right? And Drew Barrymore, yeah, Drew Barrymore. I don't know too much about Drew Barrymore. I know she's an actress, but I know I've seen some videos where she's talked about this pressure, and it's very very difficult. Atlas says, yeah, it said, I remember him way back. It's a shame how unprotected children are, especially when it comes to money and fame. It doesn't have to be like this. I hope at least he found peace with everything. I definitely hope that he found peace. And it's difficult, right? Because when you're a regular kid, imagine being in the fifth grade, right? And you're just a regular kid. You're going to class, you're doing your homework, and then all of a sudden you become an international superstar, right? You sell platinum records and you become a multimillionaire, and then a lot of times people are coming to you for something, right? Everything feels transactional. You don't know if people like you for you or if people want something from you. So what are some of the mental health issues that can come about? It's very easy to see how somebody like this could be very anxious, right? Not knowing your left from your right, not knowing if you're going to be okay or who you can trust. Paranoia, like I can see how a child star could be very paranoid, right? Or if you're somebody at home who, let's say, you became somebody within your community, right? And you didn't have a lot of attention. All of a sudden, you have it. Maybe you ran for office, or maybe you became the class president at school, right? And you became, prom king or prom queen, right? You may have that paranoia where you're trying to figure out, are people really with me for me, or and paranoia is like a heightened version of anxiety, right? Where it's very difficult to just be and to just sit still, And when people hear paranoia, a lot of times they'll think of, oh, psychosis or schizophrenia, but you don't have to have, schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder or bipolar disorder to be paranoid, right? Sometimes you can have a really good reason to be apprehensive of people, right? Where am I bringing you to? Right, yeah, and I haven't been keeping up with the news as of late, as it relates to Britney Spears, but I think she was able to get out of the conservatorship, so that seems to be encouraging. Brett says Britney Spears was on TikTok before it was TikTok. Yeah, like that was the attention back in the day. Ilani, what's going on? Ilani is one of our moderators, by the way, y'all. If you're new to the live stream, and Facebook U says, even children that are in spotlights that aren't necessarily famous, TV spotlights, me. Right, yeah. And when you look at, was it Jeanette McCurdy, right? I want to say that you look at her story. She has a book, and the name of the book is actually a very interesting title. Her book is called I'm Glad My Mom Died. Talk about childhood trauma right there. The name of her book is I'm Glad My Mom Died. And if you look at her story is actually incredibly sad. She talks about how her mother pressured her to get into acting, and a lot of times her mom would gaslight her and make her feel like she didn't have any self-worth. So when you hear a title that says, oh, I'm glad my mom died, it's easy to see how Zoe, be nice. My dog's in the kennel. She's just behaving. Zoe, be nice. Good Zoe. That's the cool thing about this show. We can go off script to get Zoe to behave. But like I was saying earlier, if you pick up a book and the title is I'm Glad My Mom Died, you'll be like, who would say such a thing about their mom, right? But you have to understand that people have had different experiences, right? And based off of somebody's childhood trauma, the adult that they become, they may be guarded, they may be paranoid, they may be suspicious and not trusting of other people. And that's because during those formative years, they weren't able to trust the figures that they were supposed to be able to trust, like your mom and your father, right? So that's a very difficult thing. And it's extremely sad when that happens. And, for me, I have a great relationship with my parents. But when I read a book, that has a title that says, I'm glad my mom died, I'm not necessarily upset because she's been through a lot of trauma and that's how she's expressing herself, right? And that book is so powerful. Lauren, I may have to read that book. I think I need to read that book because there's so many talking points we can get from it. I think I need to read that book. Carly, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And Carly says, a lot of these stars, especially from the 90s, early 2000s, really paid the price of fame. Mental health wasn't discussed or known about so many people. Right, yeah. A lot of people suffering in silence, right? And self-medicating. And when somebody self-medicates, you have to understand why they're doing that. There's more than likely some type of pain that they're trying to deal with. Nobody wakes up and decides that they want to be a drug addict. I've had a lot of patients who struggle with substance use disorder, but I've never met somebody who said, "Hey, Dr. K, like I wanted to be an alcoholic," right? Nobody wants to be that, but because of how things happen in their life, they may turn to self-medicating as a way to cope, right? So you have to understand where people are coming from. And let me see, most definitely, Tanisha, social media can do similar things, right? Because you have to understand certain things. So I'm not sure how you define the word normal, right? I don't know how y'all would define normal, but certain things are, for lack of a better term, normal, and certain things are abnormal, right? And it's important to compartmentalize and see what is what, right? So if you're, a teenager who is social media famous, that's a lot of pressure, and I was talking to my videographer earlier today, and I was saying that there's no way that I could have dealt with the pressures of social media fame at 15, 16, 17, 18, and even me now doing social media and making these videos and going live every so often. I know that I have to separate certain things because it's not normal for me to open up my Facebook, right? I can go here on Facebook and look through the DMs. I might get 50, 60, 70 messages a day of people saying, "Oh, I love your content," or "Thank you so much," or "I don't like your content. I hate this video." It's not normal to be like exposed to all those opinions at once, right? So, obviously I'm Dr. K, so I know to, take my time, take social media breaks, boom, boom, boom. And I love being here. So I've created an environment where I can, sustain this for a long time. But I do understand that social media, if you don't know how to navigate it, it can be very difficult and not the best for your mental health if you don't know how to navigate it. And let me see. I'm in the middle of the audiobook and it's amazing. So speaking of audiobooks, I might just have to get an audiobook because I haven't read a book in a long time, but I've listened to many audiobooks, right? We know how difficult it can be to read books with ADHD, right? Which I have. Look, Eminem clearly struggled from child trauma. Yeah, yeah. If you listen to Eminem's song, is it "Clean Out My Closet"? Zoe, Zoe, be a good dog. Maybe listen to "Clean Out My Closet" by Eminem. There's many times in there where he's calling out his mother, right? Because, he said that his mom, I think he said he was a victim of Munchausen syndrome, and his mom would take him to the hospital and make up all these issues that was wrong with him, and nothing was wrong with him, right? So that all that counts as childhood trauma, and Eminem has also struggled in his relationships as an adult, going back and forth with either his wife or ex-wife. And the things that happened to you as a kid is very important because that stuff matters. That stuff matters. And Drew Barrymore has definitely overcome her struggles and doing well. I'm very happy for her. Yeah, I would love to sit down and talk to Drew Barrymore, maybe be on her show, or I'm not sure, but I'd love to, learn about her story. She was heavily influenced by adults, addicted to drugs and partying at Club 54 at age 11, 14. She got clean as a late teen and revived her career. So we don't normally do this, but let's give a love of the show to Drew Barrymore. Gotta give her a love of the show, because sometimes you'll see somebody say, "Oh, that person is famous" or whatever, they have money, but she's been through a lot. And what do we know about 11-year-olds? An 11-year-old should be in 5th grade or 6th grade, right? But I know for a fact that an 11-year-old should not be partying and doing drugs, right? But this is her lifestyle. She was exposed to it. Let me see. Megan, Audible is a lifesaver. I'm a huge Audible fan. And with my book that's coming out in December, I was so excited when they approached me with the idea of an audiobook because me, myself, what do I look like trying to get you all to buy a book, but I don't really read books like that. Of course, I read my book because I wrote it. I had to, look through for edits and all that stuff, double check, make sure everything is on point. But it can be difficult for me to read books. So thank God for audiobooks. And yeah, so someone was asking about the book, but the book is "Glad My Mom Died" by Jeanette McCurdy. Thank you, Kendra. I appreciate you. And yeah, and these stories are Brett, thank you for saying this. These stories are very inspirational because even though like your average celebrity, right? Take Aaron Carter or Britney Spears or Justin Bieber. Your average celebrity isn't that relatable. when it comes to your everyday lifestyle, right? Like they live in some big mansion and like, they go all around the world. Like it's a very different lifestyle. But if you look at their childhood and the things that they've been through, right? All of us have been through traumatic events, right? And if you've been through childhood trauma, you can connect with somebody who's been through a similar thing, because you'll know it because it's going to affect you as an adult. And when you try to make sense of things, or as you start to make sense of things, you're like, oh, that's why I'm distant in my relationships because, that happened to me as a kid, or, maybe I didn't get enough attention, boom, boom, boom. It starts to make a little bit more sense, right? And Shelby says, from my experience, most people I have known that have an addiction, alcohol or drugs, stem from mental health self-medication. It is really sad. Right. So, and look, Shelby, we have to ask ourselves, why do people self-medicate? Right. And there's so many reasons, and I talked about those earlier in the live stream. But one good main reason is, look, you have to understand that people don't have access to resources a lot of times, right? So if you have to choose between going to get a doctor, right, versus going to get a bottle of whiskey, what's cheaper, right? If you don't have insurance and you don't have a copay, it's going to be so expensive to see a doctor, right? Or it's just easier to go get a bottle of whiskey or marijuana or whatever you're using to self-medicate. And I'm not saying that these are bad things, but if you're dealing with an issue and you don't want to work through it and you're using a substance to drown your then it's not the healthiest thing, right? Not the healthiest thing. We would hope that we could find healthier ways to go about things, right? And Kendo, thank you very much. Yeah, this is my first book that was released in 2019, and now it's 3 years later, and my second book will be out in December. So I'm extremely grateful for that. And yes, Megan, I will be narrating. Well, I already recorded the book, but yes, it will be in my voice because, like, I wanted. It's very important for me that the book was in my voice because I wanted to feel like a Facebook Live. Like I wanted to feel like it's this type of thing, but for like 4, 5, 6 hours, however long the book is. So it was very important to me that I recorded the audiobook myself. Like I pushed flights and I rearranged everything just to make sure that I could record the audiobook in my voice. So I'm extremely excited for that. I can't wait for it to come out. I can't wait for it to come out. Latricia. I want to make sure I pronounce it correctly. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And Melissa, once again, that's why it's a good thing that I have both, like the audiobook and also the physical book, just depending on what people want. And Facebook user, 4 years sober. So we don't know Facebook user's name, but they are 4 years sober. So let's go ahead and give them a love of the show. Can we get your name, Facebook user? Because it just says Facebook user, and I don't know if it says your name on Facebook because I'm using like StreamYard. But let us know your name so we can congratulate you. Let me ask you a question real quickly. You break the stigma by talking about your story, right? And many doctors do confuse ADHD and bipolar, and getting a second opinion can be helpful. But just talking about your story can be very helpful. Like everybody should be talking about the story if you're comfortable with talking about your story, right? Because it's difficult to get the conversation started, right? Like, how do we get the conversation started? It's very awkward when you don't know if you're like, I don't know if these people will connect with me. But, I know, we're talking about celebrities today. I know Selena Gomez, she released a special where she talked about having bipolar disorder. I need to go watch that. I have a long list of things I need to watch, movies and documentaries, but that's up there, So I would love to know how bipolar disorder affected her life and relationships and things like that, So the way to get the word out is to talk about it. So if you have a story and you don't mind sharing, and keep in mind, you can also, write like an anonymous post online. That could be cathartic, right? Because you may not want to put your, your face on it if you're early in your journey. Facebook user is Kelly Ellison. Congratulations to Kelly. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. And Melanie says, nice to be here. I deal with mental illness myself. I'm in the funk right now. Well, Melanie, I'm happy that you're here. I'm not happy that you're in the funk, but I'm happy that you're here. And welcome to the community, And like everybody, we will all struggle with all, during various times in our lives, right? So sometimes the struggles kind of connect us, right? So knowing that other people are struggling too, it's not a misery loves company type of thing, but it lets you know that, oh wow, I struggle and I'm human. Other people are like this, and there are people who care about me, and we can work through this together. And Shelby, yeah, my book should be on Kindle Unlimited. My book should be on Kindle Unlimited, and I know I haven't done a good job of promoting my book so far. But I'll make some more posts. But I don't want to sound salesy. We will once I have the physical copy of the book. We'll be doing a lot of like I'll use the book to do a lot of live streams because the book we talk about a lot of things that can help people in this community. We talk about prioritization, right? We talk about not being overwhelmed. We talk about boundaries, very, very important things. So I will be using the book for, a lot of these live streams, the late night show, the breakfast show, the bonus show, the gaming with Dr. Kojo. So don't worry. Can we talk about the word clean and how there's a huge stigma around people with substance use disorder? Yeah. So there is a huge stigma, and like I said, nobody chooses to be an addict, right? And as you're on your journey to a recovery, it's important to let people know your boundaries, right? If there's certain words you don't like, or if certain things trigger you, I think it's important to mention that. If you're a recovering alcoholic and all your friends drink alcohol every weekend, you might have to switch up a couple of things, right, to make sure you can stay on the right path for you. um and what if we are drowning ourselves with alcohol and weed, but we don't know why? So Aaron, good question, right? You don't know why, and this is why it's good to talk to other people, right? And all of these struggles, they connect all of us, right? You said, what if we're drowning ourselves with alcohol and weed, but we don't know why? Well, if we don't know why we're drowning ourselves with alcohol and weed, then talk to somebody. And as you talk to people, you may encounter somebody else who say, oh, I've been going through a hard time too. Maybe I was laid off my job, and I didn't know what to do, so I've been drinking a little bit more. I've been smoking a little bit more, and I feel a little bit helpless or hopeless. And I'm not saying that everybody who does alcohol and or marijuana is helpless or hopeless, but especially with men, right? Sometimes we overwork. When we're depressed, we isolate. When we're depressed, we turn to substances because it's much easier to isolate yourself, to not talk to anybody, and to just go to the alcohol and the weed. And the reason why you do is because those things make you feel much better in the moment, right? Because if you talk to somebody, it's uncomfortable, right? They may judge you. You're like, this feels weird, right? But that you got your two friends, right? The alcohol and weed, and they'll never leave you, and it'll help you feel better in the moment. But when these things are done in excess, they can definitely tend to bring more problems, right? So we gotta be a little bit careful. Tanisha says, what age do you think children can be negatively affected by the pressure of social media? Also, do you think TikTok is okay for young people? It seems like the pressure for likes on the videos is too much for young people. So, Tanisha, that's a fantastic question. That's a great question. And I'm not sure if I have the right answer on this, but I think that, however I answer this question, it will definitely change when I have kids. I know that for a fact. Like when you have kids, life changes for you. Like your life isn't your own. Like you think about things from the perspective of your kids and how they're gonna grow up. And I have two nephews and a niece. They're 12, 11, and 10. And they're at the point where they have like a phone that they share and they can text me and other people in the family. But I think that it's not so much TikTok, right? It's not TikTok, or it's not Facebook, or it's not Instagram. It's the internet in general, right? Because you can go on TikTok and you can be inspired. You can be here on Facebook, you can be inspired. You can be on Instagram and be inspired, right? Like you can have a TikTok is funny, or the internet is funny because you have a video of somebody making food in their kitchen, right? And the next video is like a twerking video, and the next video is somebody building like a machine using some type of coding, and the next video might be me doing my dance, teaching people about symptoms of depression that they might not be able to figure out on their own, right? So then it's like you pick and choose what you want, But I do know that, like with TikTok specifically, if you tend to seek out like educational information, or I like comedy or whatever you like, they kind of give you more of what you already consume, right? So you could set yourself up to where you're consuming those things. But I mean, if I'm a parent today and I got young kids and they want to be on social media, I would definitely put a time limit on it. I wouldn't let kids stay on social media for hours on hours. Like I let them be on social media, but I wouldn't let a child just stay on social media forever, because kids have a hard time, trying to compartmentalize what's going on. They may just take it all in, and it can be a little bit confusing. So I don't think I would let my child just like be on social media endlessly, but like I'd put the parental controls in, and let them, spend some time on it, but not too much time, right? Not too much time. Amy says, I'm on my fourth day of not smoking flower. Not gonna lie, it makes me feel really good, but I need to work on some stuff, and smoking is a big distraction for me. So, Amy, this right here, thank you for sharing, by the way. But this is one of the problems that I do tend to see with marijuana, right? I do believe that it can be therapeutic, right? And I don't think that marijuana should be a Schedule One, substance, right? Like people shouldn't be in jail over marijuana. I don't agree with that. But a lot of times, if the tendency to use that to cover up your problems, it's so high, right? If you're struggling with something, and especially if you're isolating, it's so easy to smoke and just be by yourself, right? And I've had many patients. I play this game. I play this game in my head where I'll try and figure out like what's the most helpful thing for my patient, right? And in my head, and in my heart, like I would hope that it'd be the medications. Like I would hope that the mood stabilizers that I gave you were the most helpful thing, or maybe just me being a supportive person. But a lot of times I'll ask my patients, and they'll say, "Oh, I'll smoke a cigarette," or I'll smoke some weed, and that's the most helpful thing for me, right? So if it helps people, it helps people. I understand that, but the tendency to overdo it is there, right? And that can prevent you from working through some issues that you have to really work through, right? So a lot of times, people who are in this situation, what I normally recommend is, like maybe a tolerance break, like maybe take 2 weeks off of it, and or a month, or maybe a small break to see how you feel, and give yourself a chance to work through what you got to work through, and then you can decide if you want to get back with it and start to smoke again. But maybe a tolerance break can help you kind of like work through a couple of issues that you have to take care of internally. So that's probably what I'd recommend. And Melanie, very sorry to hear this. My first husband died of alcoholism and COPD. Abuse as a child. Right, right. And these are things that the child stars go through, but a lot of us go through these things, right? And especially as a man, it can be very difficult to open up about things that have happened to you in the past, right? So that's why it's important to create a safe space for everybody, like a safe space for everybody. That means a safe space for Melanie, a safe space for Dr. K, a safe space for celebrities, a safe space for your next door neighbor, right? We should all be able to speak about issues that are important to us, and have that place where we can talk and just not be judged by people, right? And let me see, Shelby, appreciate you. And Shelby, you're a fantastic mother, just by looking out for your son, right? And just because you have to wait until your 30s doesn't mean that your son has to wait until he's 15, 20, 25, 30 to get an assessment, because he may not have it. But as we know, with ADHD, it's highly genetic, right? uh Hey, Aaron, love you too, my guy. Appreciate you, man. Going through cigarettes, right? So, cigarettes. Sometimes people get stressed, and they may want to smoke cigarettes, and I understand it, right? I understand it, and that's why it's important to not judge somebody. Whenever I have a new patient, and during the psychiatric evaluation, we have this little part where you ask the patient, like, any history of, like, substances, or like how many packs a day of cigarettes do you smoke? Do you drink alcohol? If so, how much? Do you smoke marijuana? If so, how much? An eighth, 2/8. So how much you smoke? So we get a thorough evaluation of what they've done in the past and what they're currently doing. And sometimes, like, literally, I've had many times where I'm like looking at a patient's chart, and like damn, like, let's see, cocaine, alcohol, marijuana, opioids. I'm like, And instead of being so fast, he'd be like, all right, we gotta get them off all these drugs. Obviously, we want them to not be on all these things. I'll sit there and I'll ask, all right, so why, which one do you start first? And what came after that? And what happened that led to you doing this? And a lot of times, I don't know the percentage, right? But a lot of times you go back and look at it, and it goes back to their childhood, or something traumatic happened to them and they weren't able to cope. So self-medicating was what provided them the comfort at that time. So you can't blame somebody for living that way, right? And some people get it, some people don't, right? But you can't blame somebody for why they chose to do that. You just have to do your best to help them out, right? And the problem is a lot of people don't consider weed as addiction. So, Aaron, you're right. A lot of people don't consider weed to be an addiction. That's so weird. A lot of folks don't consider marijuana to be an addiction, but in the DSM we have something called cannabis use disorder, right? And I do believe that there are some people who, because of marijuana, they're not able to function and be the best, brother, mother, father, sister, or person, or employee, or a worker at a certain job, right? You're not able to be the best version of yourself because you are overly reliant on a substance that's not allowing you to function and get things done on time, right? So a lot of people don't consider it to be an addiction. And sometimes we play this game of what's worse, is alcohol worse than weed? Or you know now obviously alcohol, we know that when you withdraw from it, if you're really hooked on alcohol, it can be life threatening. Weed not so much. But I also ask the patients, like, why are you doing this certain thing? Is it helping you or is it hurting you? And I always focus on that person, because somebody else may say, oh, this helps me out or whatever. So I'm like, all right, so for you, is this thing helping you or is it hurting you? And if you can be honest, it'll help us out. But if you're struggling to be honest, I'm not going to judge you, because you're a stranger. You just met me. You just came to the office, right? And how can we reach out to youth and make them aware of mental health issues, or reach them on a deeper level? Or should I say help them learn, guide them on how to regulate emotions? Dear Trisha, I would say social media, right? You have to go where the youth are. The kids are on TikTok. The kids are on Facebook. They're on Instagram. They're on YouTube. They're watching these, videos on Snapchat, right? So if you speak their language, and it's up. The kids are how I built my platform. I just used the relevant trends, and I figured out what Migos song or what Billie Eilish song is trending. I just put my facts, over it, and it just went viral. But I think kids also, sometimes kids don't trust their parents, or they'll kind of look at their parents like, I don't know if I can trust you, So it's sometimes hard as a parent to reach your kid, but you may have to solicit the help of maybe a cousin or somebody who is closer in age to them, who they feel like, oh, this is somebody who I can listen to. Not that your parents, not that your kids can't listen to you, but sometimes when kids are teens, like their friends are like their whole world, right? I'm curious if you previous ADHD medications. No, I don't know if I've done one specifically on ADHD medications, but I will have a live on this. When the moderators, maybe we can put this down as a potential video idea. But yes, sometimes people's Ritalin, Adderall, Vyvanse doesn't work, or it doesn't kick in like it normally kicks in on some days. So, and then also being a woman too, fluctuations in hormones can also affect how your ADHD symptoms are popping up. So yeah, it'll definitely be relevant to have a live on this. Let me see. Suggestion: only smoke when you're with others, just like drinking. You get in trouble when you do it alone. Okay. And Quinn, that could be a suggestion that could help out a lot of people. It could help people cut back a little bit, or it could help put things in perspective. So that might not be a bad suggestion based off of whoever is taking that. Any substance used without moderation. Right. And moderation is the key with everything in life. Like, too much water can be bad, right? Like, I know that was one of my viral videos I posted about this thing that we call psychogenic polydipsia, where patients would come to the psych hospital and they would have this compulsive desire to just drink water, and we have to like turn off the water fountain just to make sure that they stayed safe, because you can drink so much water to the point where your electrolytes are thrown off, and it can be very harmful to you, right? So even water in excess can be detrimental to you. So moderation is key. Moderation is key. And real quick, let me answer this question. My husband has been concerned about my son being ADHD medication that is addictive. Is that true? All right, so here's the thing. I got so much to say about this. It might have to be another live, but if your son has ADHD and he's taking ADHD medications, then he's fine, right? Especially if it's prescribed by like his provider, right? You're gonna be fine, because a provider prescribed it to your son. But these medications, they can be habit forming, right? So for somebody who doesn't have ADHD, they like to, people like to get their hands on, a little bit of Adderall or Ritalin or Vyvanse here and there. And you go to college campuses and people will sell it out. I know that it happens, right? Like, I'm not naive, but for the person who has ADHD, those medications can be a big game changer, right? There's just this stigma that exists that makes you feel like you're a criminal for taking a medication that actually dramatically helps to improve, your life, or that's the intended effect, right? So it depends. And let me see. I use weed to get me off hard drugs. 9 years sober from drugs, and I haven't smoked it in about 3 years. I believe it can be beneficial, but when it stopped being beneficial, I stopped using it. Megan, respect, respect. Thank you for sharing your journey. We'll give Megan a love the show. Megan, thank you for that. Ashley, very sorry to hear this. Ashley, you lost your mom in May and grandma in September. Yeah, and those are traumatic things. Those are definitely traumatic things. I think it's important to take some time, to the best of your ability and do your best to grieve. You're going through a hard time right now. But you have my support. You have the whole support of the community. And can we also get the Discord link in the chat? We have different channels on Discord where we talk about the wins that we're having and different things, and we might even have like a support group for grief on there. Now that I'm thinking about it, that might be a good idea. Now I'm thinking about it. And let me. Oh, you're. I forgot all the time. Thank you, Leilani. Like, if y'all don't, I could just be talking and talking. Like, unless like I have an email or something that I'm like, oh, I gotta do this. I could just talk. All right. So can somebody? Oh, so Carly, you must already watch the show, so you already know the magic word. All right. So this is the water break, y'all. The water break gives us a chance to stay hydrated. Keep in mind that a lot of us, like I have ADHD, and some of us on this live stream do. But even if you don't, right? Even if you're not forgetful at all and you remember everything, sometimes we do forget to drink water, and it's important to stay hydrated. So it's time for the water break. Get your beverage of choice. It could be water. It could be the spicy water, which is the sparkling water, or maybe it could be whatever you want, right? But either way, it's time for the water break, right? Cheers. The water break feels so good. And yeah, that's the Discord server. Can we check the link? Or if Leilani updated the link, then we should be good. Off to see my doctor. Hey, Juby, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Taylor, I appreciate you. It's cool knowing that like me going live helps your work night be easier, because sometimes work can just be frustrating. All right, let me see. I got see. All right, let me do a Q&A for 5 minutes. Ask me anything. Let's see what value I can provide. Lauren says Lauren says go in moderation. You're right. You may not want to chug water like the whole thing back to back, right? Moderation is key, right? Moderation is key. I habit stack my smoke breaks. Drink a cup of water on my way outside, then another cup on the way in. All right, hey, give you a love to show, Melissa. I respect it. Is considered medication prescribed? Yeah, I prescribed consider before. Higher or low success rate. It varies based on the person. Some people hate it, some people love it. And sometimes you'll switch somebody from Concerta to Vyvanse and they love it or they don't like it, right? So it's trial and error with ADHD meds, like with all of them, right? But fortunately, the stimulants, they work quickly. Like antidepressants, you may have to wait up until a month to see if it works. But with stimulants, those things kick in like right away. So we can tell if it's working, if it's not working. So it's more so important to be able to pivot, Carly. If you're taking the medication and you're not sure if it's working, it's more important to be able to pivot, let your doctor know, not really working, or oh, this is working, right? Or maybe you develop a tolerance to it and you gotta go up on the dosage. You can be addicted to video games. You can be addicted to anything. It's about why you do it. No, yeah, yeah. That's a word, Lauren. That's a word. All right. Let me see. I took Adderall to some focus. Kendrick Lamar though. Yeah. Sometimes but I mean, stimulants normally kind of cause your mouth to sometimes get a little dry. But okay, respect. Give Zoe a treat. She's been good. Brett, I'll definitely give her a treat. No, she's definitely been good, because she was acting up a little earlier, and I told her to be in the kennel, and she was making noise. But she's allowed the live stream to go on without me having to get up. Like if I have to get up, I'll get up on the live stream. But she didn't make me do that, so we'll definitely I'll definitely give her a treat, and I'm gonna tell her because I talked to my dog. I'll be like, hey, Zoe, you earned a treat. And Brett Adams said that you deserve this treat. So take this treat and continue to be good. Continue to be good. And Carly says it's really helped. I'm newer, but I pick up quickly. Hey, Carly, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. And Carly, where are you from, by the way? And Taylor says, Taylor, I think you told me that you work as a custodian. I think you said that. But yeah, like I see how this live stream helps you out because like we're all here. There's 59 people here today. Not as much, right? But it's still 59 real people who are on the live stream. 59 people, like we're all like at 61, like literal people who are on the live stream with you, right? So this is the best form of buy doubling, right? We're all buy doubling, and as I'm talking and there's live interaction here, I can see how it will allow you to get your work done. So I'm very happy that it's helping you out. This is ultimate buy doubling. Yeah, this is the best. And Juby says, your videos gave me the courage to finally seek help. My doctor diagnosed me with bipolar disorder, but your vids is like my daily existence. How do I open the topic to him? So, Juby, what I would say is, a good way to start off is just by telling your doctor, hey, you gave me this diagnosis, and I'm not sure, what it means for me. And then tell your doctor what you struggle with and say, hey, I struggle with X, Y, and Z, right? And as somebody with bipolar disorder, what are some things that you would recommend, boom, 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 this, that, and the third, right? But I mean, I can tell you right now that with bipolar disorder, it's important to make sure that you got a sleep schedule that's fairly consistent, do your best to try and regulate your mood by make sure that the people around you make you feel good, and then you're in a position to succeed, you're putting good food into your body. And in the event that you do get manic or depressed, just having people that are around you to support you, right? And maybe sometimes if you feel like you're getting manic, you can give your credit cards to somebody, or or if you feel like you're getting depressed, you can ask somebody to check up on you, throughout the day, throughout the week, things like that. So there's a couple of things here and there that we can do, and as we know more, we can do better. And let me see. Made me feel so much better about mental health. My dream job is to be a psychiatric nurse because I've been hospitalized 23 times since 2015, and I found they've helped me the most. All right, so Amber definitely deserves a love of the show. Let's give Amber a love of the show. Love the show to Amber, and it can be very frustrating, and it can be sometimes embarrassing to have to keep coming back to the psych hospital, right? You have to keep coming back, and they have to ask you the same questions over and over again. They give you a gown, they give you the yellow socks, and sometimes you go in there and you might look at the reactions from the staff, and you're like, oh, she's back again, or he's back again, and that may discourage you. And I hope that wouldn't happen for you, but it can be definitely a trying time in your life if you have to keep going, if you have to go back to psych hospital over and over. So you gotta give yourself some credit, and I'm so happy that you're doing much better. Highway phobia, Crystal, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I had highway phobia when I first started to drive, and I started off, this is back when I was in Georgia. I was too afraid to hop on 75 South, so I would start off by taking Cobb Parkway. I would take roads that were similar to a highway until I could get the courage to get on the highway. So start small with this, and don't pressure yourself, but start small. And you may want to drive when it's not as busy. Like I wouldn't try to hop on the highway during like rush hour. You want to take it easy. Latuda and Seroquel. So lately they won't let me talk about medications, but I mean I've prescribed Latuda and Seroquel for many of my patients. And it just depends, both of those medications. I just know you talk to your doctor and tell them, hey, these are the meds that you put me on. It's helpful, not helpful, boom, boom, boom. And then try and make the meds work for you, right? Like I know Seroquel tends to make people sleepy, so maybe you can tell your doctor, oh, this is working for me like this, boom, boom. Like you work with your doctor on certain things, and Latuda or lorazepam, I think that's the other name for it. I prescribed it for many of my patients as well. So it's just about being able to pivot, right? Sometimes you might be on the right meds. Like I'm not sure because I'm not your doctor, but you might be on the right meds, but maybe you might just need a couple of small, maybe even lifestyle adjustments. It might not even be the medications, right? And let me see. Maybe he's on the show. All right, okay. I'll make sure I get her out. I'll make sure I get her out. And yeah, can somebody click the Discord link and let's see if it's working? Somebody click the Discord link. Carly's from Toronto. Carly, welcome to the stream. We appreciate you on here. I talked to my dog like she's a human. Shelby, it's a good question. I'm not sure exactly why, but sometimes like this, I've had this complaint quite frequently. But sometimes, a stimulant may make you feel sleepy. Meds may have a paradoxical effect, which means that sometimes it works backwards, but it's not supposed to do that. But it might do that every now and then. All right, let me see what I grew up undiagnosed ADHD, and now my daughter has it, and I'm really struggling to teach her to regulate her emotions when I never learned the tools myself. Any tips? Yes, Megan, I have some tips. So if you're struggling to regulate your emotions, right, and you have ADHD, especially if you have a kid, what you could do is the next time that you get upset, right, keep in mind that your kids are watching. So next time that you get upset, like talk like through your emotions with your child and say, hey, like mom is upset right now, and even though I don't feel good, I'm going to do my best to keep my emotions in check. So I'm going to go to the room and I'm going to be there for a little bit, and I'm going to come back when I feel a little bit better. I feel like mirroring, the behavior that you'd want, like doing the behaviors that you'd want your child to mirror would be very helpful, because your child is like seeing it happen in action. So that's what I would say for that. Yeah, she did. My mom doesn't understand social media, but she's like, "Oh, that's cool, Coach. That's cool." I'm like, "Mom, like these people, they support me. I appreciate you, the pandemic professor." And I did tell you that I asked how to stay motivated. Yeah, Taylor. I'm like, I feel like I remember Taylor on here. My memory is pretty good for the most part. My working memory, maybe not so much. Like trying to remember what I did 5 minutes ago. I'm like, but like something that happened a week or two ago, I'm pretty on the money with that. Do you have any advice for the times when doing small tasks, non-routine tasks that become overwhelming? ADHD, unmedicated, and GAD, generalized anxiety disorder. How to push through that feeling? Yes. So, Aisha, I think that's how you say it. What I would say is this is what we're gonna do, right? If you're having a hard time with small tasks, and you feel like they're overwhelming, especially if you have ADHD, your brain needs stimulation. You might have to switch it up, right? And I do that a lot of times where, like I'll be working right here. This is the main place that I work. This computer is where I work. And sometimes I get overwhelmed and I'm like, what do I do? And I take my laptop and I go to the kitchen. I might work in the kitchen. I might work outside. I might go to the coffee shop and work. Sometimes we have to switch up our environments because your brain, like, especially if you have ADHD, once your brain no longer finds a certain thing interesting, like your brain might check out of it, but you still have to do the thing, right? So sometimes if you can switch things up a little bit, it can be helpful, But like I see, you mentioned anxiety here, so you got to pace yourself, right? But that's probably what I would say. Let me see. Oh, Aaron, this is when we go live right here. I'm gonna put down here while I answer a couple of questions. All right, so Tanisha says, can you explain bipolar disorder? For sure. And the difference between bipolar and depression. And actually, let me see this real quick. Yeah. I'll go live. I'll go live for 10 more minutes, 11 more minutes, because when there's not that many people in the live stream, I get to answer questions. So I actually thought to myself, maybe I should get off and do another stream and say Q&A. But then the people who are already on here, let me answer these questions. Let's do it that way, right? So the difference between bipolar disorder and depression is that, both are mood disorders, but in bipolar disorder, you can have depression. A lot of times you have depression, but it's really mania, which is a distinguishing feature of bipolar disorder, right? So if you have bipolar disorder, If you have bipolar 1, you have a full-blown manic episode that lasts at least a week, right? Or if you land in a psych hospital because your manic episode was so exaggerated, then it's automatically bipolar 1 disorder, right? And if you have bipolar 1 disorder, you don't have to have a depressive episode, but many people who have bipolar 1 do. If you have bipolar 2 disorder, right, you have a depressive episode and you have a hypomanic episode, which is like a manic episode, but it's not like full blown manic episode. So it'd be, a less exaggerated form of mania for at least 4 days, right? And it normally doesn't land you in the hospital, right? So sometimes bipolar 2 is trickier to deal with because if somebody has bipolar 1 disorder, they normally end up in the hospital and like we know exactly what's going on. But if you have bipolar 2, sometimes it could be worse because you might be struggling in silence, right? You're not all the way manic to where you have to go to the psych hospital and see me, but you may have to rely on the people around you for a little bit more support, right? So good question, really good question. Sometimes we got to go through the basics, right? And I just realized that because sometimes the numbers grow and you have so many followers. I'm like, there's like 200,000 people on here, so it would be helpful to go through the basics. And we'll be late from hey, well, I'm late for doctor's appointments all the time, so hopefully they don't give you too much of a hard time. And I'm wondering about alcohol and depression. Alcohol makes me feel so good, even though it's depressing. Why? So the reason why alcohol makes you feel so good, right? How can I make it easy for y'all? So alcohol works similar to how benzos work. So like a Xanax, right? Or like a Valium, right? Those things, they're depressants. So it's gonna like make you feel less tense. You can relax. People just loosen up and like you feel good, right? Like you're not as worked up. It kind of just brings you down, right? But the issue with alcohol is that like it impairs your ability to do a lot of things. It impairs your judgment. You can have slurred speech, and then of course, it's addictive, right? And the thing with alcohol versus other substances is when you try and come off of it, but you are addicted to it, it can be life threatening. So that's why I tell people to, just be a little, just be careful with it, But alcohol, it makes you feel loose. It brings you down. So if you're overly anxious, right, and you go for some alcohol, it's gonna fix the anxiety. Like you probably won't feel as anxious. You're gonna feel good for the night, right? But you fixed one problem, but you created another one. So it's like what are we gonna roll with, right? Ashley G, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. And I moved to Houston from Indiana. I don't know any new doctors here. How do you suggest finding a new mental health provider? Probably good question, especially for the people who maybe have never heard the answer to this. But I would probably Google like psychiatrists near me, and you'll find psychiatrists, psych nurse practitioners, psych physician assistants who can help you out. Sometimes you can go on Psychology Today and put in your zip code and see who's close to you. But doing a Google search like that could be like the first way to start, right? And then you can see who's in network and who's going to accept your insurance and so on and so forth. But sometimes that might be the most linear way to get help, right? And I'm trying to make it super simple because anytime I ask somebody for something, like I hate asking somebody for a certain thing, that's why I don't ask for directions. People are like, oh, go here, make a love. Yeah. I'm like, I forgot. Like, just give me the address. I'll put it in the GPS. Like, anytime it's more than like 3 or 4 directions or instructions, I just tune out. It's too many. It's too many. Thoughts and anxiety in the passenger seat of a car. I have this as well. Mickey Picky. If you get anxious riding shotgun in a car, right, or in the passenger seat, you have to understand that you cannot do anything about the car and how that person who is driving it, right? And it's funny because my dad told me a story. We grew up in Norway, which is a country in Europe, and when you take your driver's test in Norway, I don't know if it's still the same way now, but when you, at least in the 90s, when you would take your driver's test, for your driver's license in Norway, the cars were special, right? These cars, like you'd be driving, in the driver's seat, but in the passenger seat, the instructor would be able to brake, in case the driver wasn't good or not. And we don't do that here in the States, to my knowledge. I'm not sure if people who are watching from different countries, if y'all do it over there. But I thought that was funny, because then you're able to like break the car or do whatever. But here, the way cars are, we can't do that. So when you're in the passenger seat and you're feeling anxious, you have to recognize that there's nothing you can do about the car while it's moving, and you have to literally surrender, or do your best to be in the moment, be present. If you're present, it's going to be harder to be anxious, right? Look for things that you can see, things you can smell, maybe ground yourself. And also, if you're driving with somebody who they just make you anxious every time you're in their car, you may not want to drive with them, because that's how I am sometimes. I'm like, "Oh, I'll just Uber, or I'll just drive myself, depending on who's going to be there, who I might need a ride from. Because like I get super anxious, like when I'm in the car sometimes. I'm like, is this so much? Let me see. Yeah, I have done a live stream on boundaries, Lauren, but boundaries are important. If you struggle with boundaries, or if you're still working on it, and you're not in a relationship, I would recommend you work on that before you do that. Boundaries are important so you can have leverage. You need leverage in every situation, whether it's work, school, and your personal relationships. You need leverage, right? And you can get that by implement those boundaries. My driver's ed teacher had a break on his side in Indiana. Oh, wow. So I guess we do it here in the States. They had a break on their side in Indiana. That's news to me, though. That's news to me. Do you think it's better to go to the pediatrician for medication management or take a child to a specialist? Oh, why did you ask me this question? I'll tell you the truth, Shelby. I'll tell you. Well, all right. So this is what I would do, Shelby. If I had a child, right? And I hope to have kids, maybe 3, 4 kids one day. If I had a child, and I wanted my child, to go in for their medication management appointments, I would most definitely take him to a specialist. That's just me personally. I can't tell you what to do, but I would take my child to a specialist for medication management, because especially with psych, like if I have a child and they're taking any type of psychotropic medications, I would much rather they get their medication management from a psychiatrist, a psych nurse practitioner, or a psychiatric physician assistant. Like I want a specialist to take care of the things that they're like. I want the expert, like with our families and the people that like. And that's why I'm telling you this, because this is how I would do it with my family. Like I want my people to go to a specialist, but of course, keep in mind in this country it's so hard for us to find providers anyway. So a lot of times, if you have a pediatrician who can do it, like feel like go ahead. Like if you have a pediatrician who's doing a great job, like don't just stop going to them. But for me, like knowing what I know in healthcare and all this, like I would go to a specialist. I would go to a specialist for sure. Um, and let me see. Uh, Bipolar is very similar. Yeah. Bipolar can be similar to BPD, but with BPD, there's no manic episode. And then the mood swings with borderline personality disorder are just they tend to be more rapid. What age was I diagnosed? 25 with ADHD. Either 25 or 26, because I have a late birthday. But it was like that 2017 year. It was 2017. Yeah, for sure. That's when I was diagnosed with ADHD. Is your own mental health struggles what made you decide to go into this field and advocate so strongly for people struggling? No, so Carly, for me, I was already working at the psych hospital before I knew I had ADHD. I took the job, because my dad was like, come back to Augusta, Georgia, and be with the family and take a job at this psych hospital. And then you can live at home and save some money. I'm like, all right, sure, I'll do it. And when I started working at the psychiatric hospital, I was like, this is weird. And I wanted to quit. I tried to get them to fire me, honestly. I started showing up late. I mean, I'm late anyways, but I started showing up super late. And I was waiting for, I started working as an RN in 2013 at a psychiatric hospital. And I was waiting for the nurse manager to fire me. But they were like, Kojo, we want to fire you, but we're so short. So we'd like to keep you. Can you tell us why you keep showing up late to work? And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, all right, Kojo, we're gonna put you on second shift and see how it goes. And they put me on second shift, and that made all the difference. I had so much more time to learn how to do the job, and I got to spend those hours from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. with the patients. We go outside, we shoot hoops and play basketball, and they gave me a chance to just talk to them because like you just see their charts, so you couldn't really like get to know them. Like you just look at the chart and it would say like bipolar one with psychosis, but like I wouldn't know what that meant. But when I got to talk to them, I got to see them for people and not like an actual diagnosis. So that was helpful. So I like to say that I got into the field on accident, but I stayed on purpose. Really good question because some people who are new to this channel might not know that story. But I try to get fired. I'm not gonna lie. I try to get fired. Um, let me see. Any more questions? Where can we find previous videos on different topics that you talked about? So Melanie, there's actually like a playlist, and I'll talk to my assistant today. I'll tell him to do it Monday because we're approaching the holiday tomorrow, Veterans Day. But actually, let me take a picture of this so I don't forget. Let's just keep it real. I want to schedule, not schedule, but group all the videos together, right? So all of the late night with Dr. Kojo videos are in one section, and all of the breakfast with Dr. Kojo videos are in one section. All of the bonus show stuff, one section. All the gaming with Dr. Kojo is in one section. So I'm gonna get the playlist for y'all and just post it so that y'all can go through. Because if you try and go on my page and scroll all the way back, you'll have to scroll for hours to get back to like the old live streams that we did in March or April or May or whatever. But I understand that not everybody has the 30 minutes to watch the show. It's normally 30 minutes. It's an hour today, but not everybody has the time to really watch the show. So, I'm going to start taking clips from the show and posting them on Facebook in the little short bite-sized form. So that way you don't have to watch a whole live stream. Some people just might want the small clips. And I also have a camera right there recording me that'll help me pick up more clips, right? And I got one more person in the team to help me repurpose content. So I do my best to get the content to you all. And I'm trying different things. Yeah, Carly. No, I'm glad they didn't fire me. But back then I didn't care. But I mean, if they fired me, we wouldn't have Dr. K today. There's no way I would have built this platform, like not at all. Because I would have left mental health all the way. So I'm so grateful that things happen the way they happen. I'm extremely grateful. Yeah, Kendra. Yep, that's exactly what we're gonna do. That's exactly what we're gonna do, and that's why we got the camera here and this here because I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of stuff that I say. If we had somebody like edit it and like put it in, like if we have a system, we could get people the information and maybe the people, because some people will just never want to watch the live stream like that, and that's fine. So you have to figure out how to communicate in their language. And playlist on particular. Yeah. That's another topic. And let me. I have right now on my phone. I don't know about y'all, but oh my goodness, I have 37,663 photos. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know where I'm taking photos of. What in the world? But normally, when I take a photo, I'll favorite it so that way I don't lose it. I got 37,000 photos. Mickey Ficky. All right, let me ask this, and then I'll go grab Zoe so y'all can see Zoe. Another question: how do you get up in the morning? I wake up every day at 8 a.m. but fall back asleep. I cannot, for the life of me, wake up early and stay awake. All right, so Taylor says, how do you get up in the morning? It's for me, I struggle with getting up in the mornings, right? And I've been this way since I was a kid, and for a period of time, I thought to myself, I'm like, am I depressed? But then when I look back and analyze, I'm like, no, I've been doing this forever. Like I just love my bed. Like I want to be in my bed. Like if I could be in my bed to watch Netflix, I'd be in my bed. If I could be in my bed to do my work, I just don't like. I like being in the bed to do everything, right? But I'm way more productive when I'm up and moving. So normally, when I'm struggling to get up, I like to switch it up. Every now and then, I'll go delete all my alarms and start fresh. I might use my Alexa sometimes and put the alarm on there. And like I'll put like I have like maybe 5 alarms on every morning. I know, like I struggle to get up, so I have 5 alarms on. I might use my Alexa device. I might take a phone or backup phone. I might put it somewhere. One of my favorite tricks is I'll take my phone, right? I'll take my phone or a backup phone, and I'll put the alarm on, and I'll put it far away from me, so that way I have to get up to snooze. And when I get up, I'm like, I'm already up. I might as well get up and go to the gym, But on days when, like I have a segment on ABC 7 here in LA, where we talk about some mental health topic on TV, is one Monday out of the month. Like on those days where I have to get up for TV appearances or whatever, like I'll actually have my assistants call me. Like I've had, sometimes my publicist will call me, or my one of my other assistants will call me. Like I have people call me to wake me up, because that's how bad it gets for me. Like I just want to be in bed. Sometimes they'll call me and say, "All right, Coach, it's time to start the day," and I'll go back under the covers. Or sometimes I'll be sleep talking. I'm like, "All right, yeah, I'll just sleep for 5 more minutes, right?" And whether I've slept for 4 hours or for 8, I look at my Apple Watch. I'm like, I slept 7 hours and 32 minutes. Why am I tired? But I've realized that if I can get up and get on my feet, if you can get up and get on your feet and dress up, then you should be good to go. Can you let Zoe real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, people want to see Zoe. Carly says 5 alarms. That's how I get up. 7 o'clock. No, Carly, this is exactly how I get up. So I know Carly's like a white girl, but we must be twins, because this is exactly how I get up. Like literally, my alarms are like that. Let me even pull up my alarms right now. Alarms. All right, these are my alarms right here. 5:29. Yeah, like that's how I do it. Zoe, come here. Come on, Zoe. Zoe, they want to see you. So come here. Come here, Zoe. Zoe. Shicey. Zoe, come here, Zoe. Come here, Zoe. They want to see you. There's Zoe. Right here. Zoe, say hey to them. Zoe, what's up? She can't sit still because my videographer is still here. Ran that video. So Zoe is all over the place. Zoe, relax. Relax. Say hey to them. This is Zoe Shicey right here. My little baby. She'll get a treat. Zoe, you're going to get a treat because Brett said you've been good. So we'll roll with that. All right, Zoe. Shicey. My dog also said I did for him. Yeah, dogs are lifesavers. Dogs are lifesavers. Kendra, it depends on the news network, right? Because it's normally every month. Sometimes it'll be twice a month. It's on Mondays though. But if there's a big story in LA and they have to bump my segment off, then they'll do that. But normally it's about once every month. It's normally the first Monday of every month. All right, this girl gotta pee. So right here. All right. No, all right. Okay. All right, y'all. That'll be it for the live stream. Yeah, it's ABC 7 Mondays. Yeah. Oh yeah. Her so chill out. Yeah, her eyes. Look at these blue eyes. It's a cute ass girl. Oops, I cussed. All right, but let me go get this dog out. She gotta get this crust out your eyes. She gotta go pee. I can tell, and she will get a treat because she's been decently good. All right, y'all. Until the next live stream, take care and keep in mind you can use the Discord link to be a part of the Discord community. And I will catch y'all. Look at her. So this is still. I have to figure out if dogs can get ADHD. All right, y'all. I'll Carly, I'm weak. I try to like think to myself, our coach, we don't use cuss words because kids watch. Every now and then they come up. All right, y'all. Until the next time, y'all take care. Have a good weekend. Have a good Veterans Day tomorrow. Hopefully, y'all are off of work and y'all can sleep in. So, until next time, y'all take care. So,